Welcome to my next Stranger Things Season 2 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching Stranger Things, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen every single episode thus far, Stranger Things, that's been released. Obviously, looking forward to the fifth and final season of Stranger Things. I'm hearing that's going to come out in November. That has yet to be confirmed, though, and I'm guessing once it does come out after half the episodes air, they'll push it out for another month or two so it goes into 2026. But Stranger Things is definitely one of my top 20 favorite TV shows of all time. Hell, it might even be in the top 10. I'm glad that I'm rewatching this show now to let things resonate so I can help me better determine where Stranger Things will rank on my all-time favorite TV shows of all time list, which I'll update, I'm guessing, at some point this year. Might even be once I finish season 3 of Stranger Things, because I'm pretty familiar with season 4. That was a pretty good season. But season 3, like, I remember some of it, but maybe that was, because it was a recency bias, maybe I liked it more than I thought I did, but we'll see. But expect that video at some point in 2025. So with all that said, this will be Stranger Things Season 2, Episode 6. The title of this episode is called The Spy. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. So we have Will Byers being brought to Hawkins' laboratory with Joyce, Bob, and Mike following him, where the doctors conclude that he believes that they believe that he's burning, and they sedate him. Hopper is power washed with a hose and scrub brushes following his his time in the tunnels. Dustin explains the situation with D'Artagnan to Steve Harrington. Steve arms himself with his nail bat from the last season and descends into the storm cellar where Dart is locked, only to find that he has shed his skin again and tunneled out through a wall. Lab agents enter the Byers household, photographing the drawings covered the walls and Will's drawing of the shadow monster. Joyce explains Will's episode at the school and his now memories to Dr. Owens and a group of scientists, but none of them are able to offer a solution as to what is wrong with Will. Jonathan, Nancy, and Murray make copies of Owen's confession tape and package them to be sent to several big newspapers. As they celebrate with alcohol, Bowman insists that they stay the night in his guest room, and Jonathan asks if he can sleep on the couch to avoid sharing a bed with Nancy. Bauman points out that Nancy and Jonathan have clear romantic chemistry, and they both they need to really realize that they like each other before going off to bed satisfied. Later that night, Nancy and Jonathan lay awake in their separate beds, unable to sleep as they can contemplate Murray's words. They meet up and initially dismiss him as drunk and out of line, but quickly kiss and end up having sex. Erica, Lucas's sister, tells Lucas about Dustin's repeated emergency message calls. When he calls him back, Dustin tells him to gear up and meet him at the junkyard. Owens clears Hopper to be released from the quarantine and shows him the extent to which the gate has grown, having borrowed dozens of feet underground to point where the lab crew, where they have it, and a pit to view it. Owens explains that the gate is responsible for the tunnels and rot spreading. Joyce explains the events of 1983 to Bob, and he again suggests moving away, which she seems more open to. Over breakfast, Bauman teases Nancy and Jonathan with repeated innuendos and to leave for Hawkins. Lucas goes to Max's house to prove that his story was real and almost encounters Billy, but narrowly avoids him and leaves with Max. Will awakens but is unable to remember Bob, Owens, and Hopper, and needs a moment to remember Mike's name. He recalls the soldiers burning the tendrils hurt him and that they upset him by doing so. Him identified as his drawing of the shadow monster. Owens brings in a severed tendril from the tunnels and burns it, which causes Will to have an intense pain reaction. Owens compares Will's condition to a virus that can possibly be cured and is unable to answer when Joyce asks what happens to Will when he loses all of himself. Steve Harrington gives Dustin advice on wooing Max while they throw meat around in hopes of luring Dart. He explains that Dustin should act aloof in her presence and reluctantly explains how he styles his perfect hair. They walk by one of Hopper's infected trees. Hopper calls 11 on his Morse code radio and apologizes for their fight. The scientists become impatient with Owens, unable to stop the gate's spread by burning because it will kill Will. He contemplates what to do as Joyce tries to meet him to no avail. Will stares at a soldier's gun and thinks about being burned before abruptly telling Mike he knows how to beat the monster. Jonathan and Nancy return to the Byers' house to find it empty and covered in drawings, and they find a Polaroid cartridge from the agents. Using his map reassembled through the pictures taken of it, Will identifies a large open space that the monster does not want him to see. As the soldiers prepare to prep to go underground and are guided by a technician looking at the map, Steve and the kids barricade the abandoned bus in the junkyard and pour a trail of gasoline on the bait meat. Dustin adopts Steve's approach to women around Max. He joins Lucas on the roof. She tells him about her parents' divorce and how Billy has become more aggressive since moving from California. She worries that her sarcastic nature is her becoming more like him, but Lucas assures her that she is very different from him. Before the moment can progress further, something roars in the fog and Dart emerges, not taking the bait. Steve realizes he prefers living food and grabs the nail bat, giving Dustin his lighter as he goes to confront it. As he and Dart approach each other, Lucas sees 3 more juvenile Demogorgons appear to Steve's right. He fights off all 4 of them at once, long enough to get inside the bus. Before one can get in through the sunroof, something calls it away, and Lucas and Max realize they have been holding hands this whole time. Watching on the cameras, Hopper realizes the soldiers have been sent to the place in the tunnels littered with human and animal remains. The soldiers hear a low growling as the fog starts to roll in. Distressed Will apologizes to no one and says that he made me do it because they upset him. Mike has a moment of realization and murmurs the spy before running out of the room, desperately trying to get into the control room to warn the soldiers they are walking into a trap. So Will, because he's being controlled by the shadow monster, essentially, is actually set them up here. Dozens of signatures start to appear on the radar, all moving towards the soldiers. They are revealed to be juvenile Demogorgons who kill off the soldiers quickly. Hopper checks the radar and realizes that all of the Demogorgons are moving down one tunnel. Will tells his mother, "You should go now. They're almost here." As Hopper looks over the edge of the pit, a juvenile Demogorgon climbs to the edge and roars in challenge. And that's what ends this episode of Stranger Things. So pretty good episode. I'm going to give it an 8.4 out of 10. My characters of the episode, I got to give the main character to Steve Harrington. He was pretty awesome. And then it's kind of a toss-up. A lot of people did a lot of good things in this episode. I'm going to pick Lucas because I'm, getting invested a little bit into his relationship with Max, or his pursuit of Max. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Stranger Things and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Stranger Things. What would you rate it, and who would you choose as the character of the episode? Remember to come back to this channel for the 5th and final season of Stranger Things. I'll do review videos for every single episode. I don't know when they'll be uploaded, though. It might be a day after I don't like it when everything's released at once. I'd rather have one per week. I'm better at doing review videos that way. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You're watching the video anyway. Subscribe to the channel. Help me get over 100,000 subscribers. Join the team. Show your damn support and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.